figuring out that you actually landed the lead role in a Final Fantasy game in Final Fantasy XVI. I mean, you didn't know that it was Final Fantasy XVI when you auditioned, did you?
No. When you audition for games, they are so heavily NDA'd and they change all the names. I actually auditioned for a character, a much smaller character in the game, and they then kind of stopped and said, "Ben, is it all right if you read for this character instead?" And I went, "Yep, sure." So I sight read the whole lines, and then I got the part based on this sight read of the lines. And the character I was sight reading for was a character called Clint Richmond. Clint Richmond. And I didn't know what it was at all. And then when I got the offer saying you're the lead in a video game, I was like, that's really cool. I can't, what an opportunity. And it wasn't until like a week later when they gave me the script for the game and the revised character description. And I saw the keywords. I saw the words like SIDS and, like chocobos. And I remember it's just, I couldn't talk about it. And I was just me running around my apartment going, "Oh my God, oh my God, I got moving." And it just, it was just so secret. And it still really hasn't, it hasn't really sunk in yet. Because I know the power of what these games can be for people. And I am so unbelievably proud of what the team have made with Final Fantasy XVI. I think that as a story, as a character study, it's really, really remarkable, actually. And I'm so proud to kind of be a part of it. Yeah. And hopefully there will be, people out there who will have never played a Final Fantasy game, who will have that same experience of going, wow, this is what games can be. This is really, really cool. Final Fantasy it is an M-rated game, this one. So I wouldn't say 11-year-olds don't play it. But maybe be supervised by an adult because there are some things in this game. But
yes. Yeah. It's some interesting happenings.
Yeah, there are some interesting happenings. Yeah.
But how did you go about like sort of preparing for doing a role like this? Because like, I mean, what we were saying before, it's a hefty chunk of time, these Final Fantasy games.
They are a hefty chunk of time. And I didn't know how long I'd actually be recording for. Yeah. It ended up being 4 years of work. And I didn't prepare. I didn't prepare for it because you can't, because you are constantly dealing with unknowns. And it was just through the doing, and it was through the making of the mistakes. And I was fortunately given a huge amount of runway to shape this character because we recorded it first in English. It wasn't, this isn't like a dub where I'm listening to someone else's performance and I have to move it to that. It's entirely what we came up with. So I was allowed to make some choices that wouldn't normally probably be made for this character. You want to present this hero who has all the answers and, is going to save the day, but that's really not what Clive is. And that's really what we wanted to explore with that character. Yeah. So I didn't. I had to kind of improvise on the fly, and sometimes, I made a point of kind of not reading the scripts in advance. So like some scenes in the game, I am reading those blind, and some of them are like some of my favorite performances of myself in the game. I hate watching myself, but I was like, wow, Ben, you really went for it.
Good job, Ben.
Oh my God, am I really good? But there are also moments I would come back day after day thinking I'm absolutely terrible because the weight of this game is so huge on my shoulders because I understand how important it is to lots of people and I didn't want to let them down. Yeah. So if I came out of work thinking I hadn't done a great job that day, because of circumstances, stuff that you bring from the outside world, I feel really, really guilty about it. So you just have to every morning steel yourself for it, be alive to all of the things that could go wrong. Yeah. And often it would be like the small lines that I wouldn't do very well. All the big stuff would just go off without a hitch and like, well, that sounds really normal. But things like, there is a line in the game where I had to say, "I'm back." And it's like, oh, I'm back. And
how do you say that?
How do you say that? And it lost meaning. It lost complete meaning. And I even at one point just said to the performance director, "I'm so sorry. I can't give you what you want."
I know. Because it's true though. Like it is those like little teeny tiny like inflections on the language that it can sound really wrong.
It can. And we there were so many different ways in which we made this game. Really early on, we were doing it with, I was doing it in the studio with Susie and Ralph, which was amazing. And we really kind of formed these really great relationships together, and I absolutely loved it. But then COVID happened, and then we had to be a lot more separate. So that bond which we forged was still there, but we had to kind of maybe like artificially manufacture it a little bit more. But I think we found a brilliant medium for that. But when you are doing, you know, we were still doing facial capture and stuff, and there was a lot of emoting with our face. There were lots of scenes where I'd come in and I wouldn't say anything at all. It would just be, Ben, we need you to react to this scene, which was a great thing to do, thinking, oh, wow, they're taking this seriously.
Yeah.
You know, they're really kind of using our faces and using our emotions. But yeah, when you get a line like "I'm back," you're thinking, I want to make this the most meaningful line in the world. And you're like, well, actually, it's just a line, Ben.
Yeah.
There are thousands more lines. Don't worry.
Doesn't all have to be fantastical.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to have if every line is the most meaningful line, then no lines have meaning.
My gosh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, like I remember this is giving me like flashbacks to Shakespeare class where like your monologue is just like outlined in like red pen.
Yeah.
And it's just like everything has to have a thing. And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't.
It really doesn't. And restraint is something that I am constantly learning. I don't think you ever get out of it. You want everything to be the best, most important thing ever.
Yeah.
But finding like interesting cadence and how you add importance to certain words, you know, you can't be interesting all the time. And in fact, sometimes being uninteresting is the most interesting thing you can be.
Yeah,
know?
Definitely.
You know, there's sometimes a scene, as much as I love Clive, sometimes a scene isn't about Clive, you know. Clive doesn't have to be there all the time. There is a work.
Clive is front and center.
Yeah, but I think that like, yes, this is a character action game, but there are so many other characters in this game that you get to experience and learn their stories and go on this huge journey. I think, you know, Yoshi P has said there's 11 and a half hours worth of CG cut sequences in this game. It's a lot of story.
Yeah, it is.
And, you know, it's not just about Clive. It's about the people of Alastia.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing.